today we are focusing on another part of the Romantic Age, which is the literary background. We focused in our last lessons on the historical background, okay, on the revolutions, on the changes which characterized the age of revolutions. And today we are focusing on the literary background. What does literary background mean? It means the literary production in Britain during the age of revolutions, during the Romantic Age. Okay, first of all, why is the age called Romantic? Why the literature produced in this period is called Romantic? What does this word mean? Okay, do you remember that at the beginning of our lessons dealing with the Romantic Age and Romanticism, I asked you all, and you did it, to send me a short voice message with the definition of what romantic is for you. We have already seen, studying the historical background of the Romantic Age, that romantic doesn't deal with love, but it deals with feelings. Obviously, it deals with emotions, with passions. Also, not passion which link a man and a woman and a woman, a woman and a man, okay? But dealing with the passions, the social passions also, the political passion, the passion for justice, okay? For those ideals that we said spread during this period. Let's focus on the etymology of the word, etymology, so from the origins of the word romantic. The first thing that we can say is that the word romantic comes from the French, okay? From the French word romance, romance, okay? This French word romance was used in the Middle Ages. The Middle Ages is what we call Middle Age, Medioevo, okay? Middle, capital letter, ages, but two different words. In the Middle Ages, the word romance was used by the people to describe some specific works, some literature, some works which were not in Latin, but were written in the new vernaculars. What were the vernaculars? They were the languages, the local languages spoken in what used to be the Latin world. Okay, so we know, you know, that little by little the Latin, the language spoken in the Latin in the Roman Empire, changed basing on the popular tradition, and the vernacular languages started. For example, and the vernacular was the language used by people. Don't forget, for example, that Dante Alighieri, the Italian Dante Alighieri, in the Middle Ages wrote De Vulgari Eloquentia. What is it? It is a work in which he used for the first time the vernacular as a literary language. So, let's go back. In the Middle Ages, the Romance was a work, okay, written not in Latin, but in vernacular language, okay? And these works, the romances, romance is singular, romances is plural, were focused on adventures and chivalry. Chivalry means the actions of the knights, for example, cavalieri, knights. So the Middle-aged romances were not in Latin but in vernacular, and they dealt with a lot of adventures and with chivalry. Okay, they were called romances. Then, from the 18th century, the word romantic, don't forget, which came from the French Romance, started to mean marked by feelings, marked, characterized by feelings. So it was not, what century it was the 18th? It was the century of the Lumi, okay, of the triumph of reason. So the enlightened philosophers, the enlightened scholars, i filosofi illuminati, okay, gli studiosi illuminati, which based, okay, their ideas only on the supreme power of reason, used the word romantic with this meaning which was not a positive one for sure. Romantic was everything that was characterized, marked, as you can see here, written on this slide, by feelings. So, you can understand why for the 18th century philosophers, scholars, okay, it didn't have a positive meaning. Then, sorry, here I didn't write it. During the romantic age is called romantic because it is an age, obviously, marked by feelings. Maybe the most important characteristic, the core, now you know core, the core feature of the romantic literature, not only in England, but in the whole Europe, is the fact that the romantic works are marked by feelings, emotions. And don't forget, when we speak of feelings and emotions, we don't only speak of love, okay, of what we say romantic is, spending our time with our fiancé, with our boyfriend, girlfriend, at the candlelight or on the beach at the sunset. No. Strong feelings, strong emotions, and then we will see what kind of feelings, what kind of emotions. But don't forget that when you think of the word romantic literature, you speak, okay, you mean a type of literature which is marked by feelings, by passions, by strong emotions, not only, but basically. 2 minutes and then we go on. When we speak of the romanticism, listen to the pronunciation, romanticism. When we speak of the romanticism in Britain, okay, we can split the romanticism into 2 phases. A phase which is called the pre-romanticism and the romanticism or romantic age. Okay? In the pre-romanticism, we will study basically one poet whose name is William Blake. We will study him next year. He will be the first poet, artist with whom we will open our new year, okay? And then the Romantic Age lists a lot of poets. It's not a case that I am speaking of poets. Do you know why? Because the Romantic Age, the British Romanticism, is usually considered the age of poetry. poetry. Poems were the most important, the core works of the Romantics. We also have some novels, but most of the Romantic production in Britain were poems, poesie. We will see also why. I would like to focus on the dates. Okay, the pre-romantic phase of the British. Okay, I am not speaking generally of Romanticism, but of British literary production. The first phase, the pre-romantic phase, goes from 1760 to 1881. This date here, this year, is very important, and in a moment I will tell you why. And then the real romantic age, okay, or the phase of the real romanticism goes from 1801 to 1837. Why did I say that this here, the 1801, is fundamental? It is the watershed. Watershed. You already know this water. It is the moment in which a thing splits into two parts. Il divisorio, lo spartiacque. Okay, watershed. It's the moment in which a new thing starts, where it is the moment, the watershed, and in this case 1801, when something is over and something starts, something new starts. In 1801, the pre-romantic phase of British Romanticism came to an end, and the real romantic literature started in Britain, because in 1801, and this is the last thing that I say for today, in 1801, a poet, one of the biggest, of the most important, and one of the most famous poet laureate in England, William Wordsworth. You will know this name because he is the second poet that we will study next year. William Wordsworth published the work which is generally considered the manifesto of the English Romanticism. Manifesto. What is the manifesto? It is a work which puts together, that sums up the most important characteristics, the core features of a movement. What is the title, or what is usually considered the manifesto of English Romanticism? Attenzione alla pronuncia, non preface o qualsiasi altra cosa, but preface, ok, non preface, preface to the lyrical ballads, preface to the lyrical ballads, la prefazione alle ballate liriche, preface to the lyrical ballads. Then on Saturday I will say what the lyrical ballads were, and we will see what were the most important features, the core features of the pre-romantic poetry and of the romantic poetry. And we will focus on the idea why the Romantic Age is usually considered not only the age of revolutions, but also the age of poetry. Ok, per adesso io direi che we have finished. Ok, why? I don't know why it doesn't. Okay, I close, sorry, I don't want to record anymore. Okay,